Why do broke people stay broke? What is preventing them from getting out of the mediocre lifestyle that they're currently swimming in? Have you ever looked around, right, and just like you see that people are doing the same thing year after year. They're going to the same job year after year. They're living the same way year after year. They do the same activities month after month, year after year, and they basically live the same life every single year. Do you ever look around and realize, holy shit, like 90% of human beings that I'm surrounded by are not self-improving. They're not getting better. They're not evolving. They're not moving towards a better life outcome. There are people that I have known right now for the past 3 to 4 years, right? You know, coworkers, affiliates, people, you know, that I just am aware of, right? They're still doing the same job. They're still complaining. They still have the same habits, right? And it can be very depressing it can be very depressing and very discouraging for someone trying to escape that mediocrity cycle, right? That that way of living. But guys, broke people typically, and people who just live like a mundane, you know, easygoing, kind of just comfortable life, you have to realize that most of them are okay with that, right? Most people, they wake up, they look at they look at their phone, they click their alarm, and they're ready to go to work. They're ready to do the same thing they did yesterday, right? And then they go home, and what do? They sedate themselves. A lot of people I know who just work regular jobs have addictions, right? And guys, one thing that and I'm not saying this is true for everybody. We all have our vices. But one thing I've noticed amongst people who are not doing well in life and who are kind of in the same spot that they were in last year and the year before, they struggle with vices. And as a result of them being, dimmed down by whatever vices they're, participating in, that prevents them from getting out of the lifestyle that they currently are living in, right? So like, for example, let's face it, right? There's two ways to escape mediocrity. There's either you make more money to invest so that you can, appreciate your assets, whichever assets you choose to invest in, right? That's one way. And then the other way is to, when you get off work, right, you work on your own thing. You develop your own business, whatever that is, right? You create your own service or product or whatever thing you're working on. So with that understanding, right, if most people are just working one job, they're working 40 hours, right? And they're not doing any extra work on the side. They're not, working on a business or working a second job or creating some other stream of income outside of their main income. Then by default, if they're not leveling up in that first job that they're in, right, or there's no growth potential in the job that they're in, right, and it's just a 40-hour cycle of get paid, pay your bills, pay for food, pay for gas, pay whatever you need to pay, and then just keep doing that over and over again. That is precisely why most people stay the same. And that's precisely why it's so difficult to escape the cycle. And that's why so few people do escape the cycle. So guys, you have to ask yourself, right, like when you're on this journey of, pursuing financial freedom and pursuing excellence and creating a life that's financially abundant for yourself, you have to understand that by default, the life that everyone else is living is basically living an easy life, right? They're basically choosing every single day when they go home, when they clock out, and they clock into their regular lifestyle that they're participating in, right, after work. They're choosing for the remainder of the day to live the same, right? Because we only have 24 hours in a day. We sleep 8 hours of them, and when we wake up, we go to work for 8 hours, 9 hours, whatever. And when we come home, we have like 4 to 6 hours to play with, right? So in those 4 to 6 hours, let's say from 4 to 10, right, or 3 to 9, whatever, are you studying? Are you working? Are you creating some form of second income? Are you working an extra job? Are you developing your business? Are you developing your talents and your skills and the things that will build upon themselves in the coming years for you to be able to take off or figure something else out for yourself, right? Because unfortunately speaking, right, like that's the only way. Or, right, like if you're actively trying to level up in your main job or whatever career profession you're in, okay, that's another way, right? But let's face it, most people aren't doing that, right? Most people are clocking into whatever retail minimum wage job they're at, or whatever whatever job that they labor in, right? Whatever they're doing, right? They're just doing that job and going home, right? For the most part, they're not really, there are some people that are trying to level up in whatever domain they're in. But I think it's safe to say that, escaping the trap, right, requires you to get out of your comfort zone and requires you to do the work after a long day. That's why so many people stay average. It's hard to, and again, once you get in the habit, it becomes easier, but it's hard for the average person, right, to come home when they're used to years of this, right? Coming home, scrolling their phone, doom scrolling, right? Watching porn, playing video games, or, drinking. Like, there's a lot of people down here, I'm not going to name any names, but a lot of people where I live right now, I work in a gas station, right? So I'm around these people all the time. 3-4 o'clock rolls around, time to go home. What are we buying? We're buying cigarettes. We're buying Newports. We're buying Modelos, Coronas. We're buying Lotto, right? That's another one, freaking Lotto. So people are shooting themselves in the foot by their bad spending habits and the by default, right? Obviously, I've mentioned this before, but like the alcohol and the cigarettes, right? Not only do they cost a lot, guys, a 12-pack of I don't know how much a 12-pack of Corona is. It's like $20. So if you're buying a 12-pack of Corona 3 to 5 times a week, that's $60, $80 out of your weekly check every week. That's what? That's $300 a month. Imagine if you took those same 3 Coronas and imagine you didn't buy any of those 3 Corona packs, right? And you were able to pocket that $300. You could invest $200 of that into index funds, right? Without doing anything, right? I'm not saying you have to work a second job, right? Some of you guys, not you, but some people just need to eliminate their bad habits, right? Their bad vices that are costly in terms of money and also costly in terms of, taking life force energy away from them. So guys, there's numerous amounts of ways to escape, right? And there's numerous amounts of opportunities available to you, right? But most people don't care to seek them out, don't have a vision or a want or an intention to even attempt or see themselves doing something on the side. And then simultaneously use the money that they do have, the little money that they may have, and waste it. So it's really, when you think about it, it's not that hard to escape mediocrity, right? The only thing that I will say, once you get established in a main job and you're able to cut down on your bad spending habits and vices, and then also, start to figure out a second source of income, the next thing that's gonna really elevate you is just your commitment to continuous growth, your commitment to continuous learning, and your commitment to seeing things through, right? Because a lot of people, let's face it, right? Maybe, and you see this with YouTubers and people who kind of start to get things going on the side, right? They have a great year, they have a great 6 months, or things are going well for a short period of time, then boom, all of a sudden their channel stops growing and then they stop uploading videos, right? You see this all the time, right? I know people, and I'm not going to name names, but I know people who have done well for a short stunt, like a year or two, and then now I don't see them, right? Or if I do see them, it's like once a month, once every couple weeks, right? So the main thing that's going to keep you afloat and is going to keep you progressing, at a steady rate over time is your ability to be consistent, right? Because once you have your habits down, once you are able to live below your means, once you're able to execute on your side hustles and build whatever service you want on the side and start to see progress in that, the only question now is not a matter of you figuring something else out. The only question now is you building upon what you already know and you continuously stacking wins, right, as time progresses. And obviously, one thing that I will say that I'm connecting here what I just talked about is if you like, let's say you blow up, right? Are you going to be able to sustain that just because now you feel like you made it, or you feel like, oh, like I saw a lot of success, I can kind of cool back now, right? I know a lot of people have done that. So, if things are not progressing the way you want them, or, let's say things are really progressing and you're really, making a lot of progress and you're really, doing well, that just should basically tell you that you need to double down and keep going, right? Because again, you can either operate from two ways, right? When you're doing well, you can be like, okay, let me keep going. Or you can get comfortable and be like, oh shit, damn, I've been working hard. Let me relax. Let me take the day off, right? And then you take one day off, and that turns into 2 days. Then 2 days turns into a week. Then a week turns into 2 weeks. Next thing you know, you've lost you stopped doing what got you there in the first place, right? So that's something to keep in mind when you're building something on the side, or you're trying to get things rolling, whatever you're pursuing. And yeah, guys, I mean, it's really not that hard, right? It's hard. The thing that's hard about the things I'm bringing here to the forefront, like, working on a side hustle or working extra hours, the hardest thing is being able to sit in times of uncertainty, and then also like not seeing progress. Like, guys, and I say this a lot, but if you make a YouTube video and it sucks, right? That's discouraging, right? You make another one and it sucks, that's more discouraging. But like I said, being able to be consistent over time, eventually God gives you what you want. I've seen a lot of people, again, like I mentioned earlier, they hit it big, then they stop, right? And then I've also seen people, right, where like they're going at it for a year, they're going at it for 2 years, they're going at it for 3-4 years, and then that 5th year, right? Had they quit, right, they would have never seen the light of day that the 5th year brought them, which brought them, all of the fruits of their labor that they put in. So consistency, it's almost guaranteed. If you're consistent, you'll win. Now the question is whether you're gonna be able to sit through times of slow progress, or times of setbacks, or maybe again, you're not doing as well as you once did before, right? Like, that's definitely something that has happened with me. Like, this channel, when I started uploading consistently, a year ago, right, or a little over a year ago, right, I was doing well. This past 6 months hasn't been as smooth. Now, obviously, I've had a little more things going on in my personal life that I've detracted a little bit. But all in all, like, staying consistent is what's going to keep you going, right? Is what's going to keep you afloat, so that eventually, right, you can build on that consistency and continue to stack the wins that you've already built up previously, right? But if you stop and you're like, oh shit, I'm not seeing the progress, right? That's really God asking you, hey, dude, are you committed to this shit or not? Because not every day is going to be a win. Not every day is going to be, you're not going to hit it big every single day, or do well every single day. So I just want to come on here and discuss a few things that I find important, especially when it comes to, building the life you want, right? It's very tough, living in modern society and seeing how people are, and, being around people who aren't doing well, who aren't pushing the limits, right? I'm surrounded by them all day, right? But again, it's like, if you hold to your vision in your mind, if you constantly reinforce it in your mind, and you constantly remind yourself that every single day is a new day for me to create the life that I want, then you'll be fine, right? And one thing I will also mention before I go is, whenever, you always have to look at where you're at. Like, if you're in a job right now and you're trying, and your vision is to eventually work into something else, that should be motivation on its own, right? My motivation is, I don't need to listen to motivational speakers. I don't need to watch prep videos, right? All I need to do is clock into work and realize I'm not where I need to be. And that gives me the fire, that gives me the juice, that gives me the internal, intrinsic drive, motivation, and, energy to be able to come on here and do what I need to do, or to be able to clock in somewhere else after my day job and go, bring in some extra resources so that I can buy back my time, right? Everything, the current life that you're at, like I made a video the other day titled about like talking about how your job is actually, like, hating your job is a good thing, because that should remind you every day that it's a new day for you to be able to go out and do what you need to do after your day job, right? And that is by default what is going to separate you from everyone else who's not doing what they're supposed to do, who's stifling them, who's stunting their growth with drugs and vices and bad spending habits and shit that's just terrible for you, right? So anyways, guys, that's it. That's all. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, make sure to subscribe. If you guys have any questions, comments, feel free to leave them down below. And as always, I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.